Welcome back to the North American Challenger Series, where we're about to join Game 2 of this ongoing clash of the Uniteds. eUnited facing off against Goldcoin United.
I'm going to get confused at some point in this game, I guarantee it.
Well, Goldcoin United currently has the lead after a victory in Game 1, but it didn't always look that way. Goldcoin United had finally taken control in the later stages of the game, but it was really all eUnited early game up until about a 34-minute Baron call that kind of cost them the game.
Right, I mean, eUnited had this weird lane-dominant poke comp thing going on with a Jace, a Kog'Maw, and a Varus, and the thing about those comps is it's very easy to get leads early, it's hard to close. So they go for this forced Baron play, and they have to worry about the TP Shen coming in. They find themselves pinned up, unable to kite finally, and they're able to get the Baron buff, but ultimately, it doesn't mean anything when you're pinned in the pit against a team that wants you there. So they're going to lose 4 members for that Baron buff, which allow Goldcoin United to get back in the game. And then it was still a little bit of a slugfest from there, but ultimately Goldcoin United came out on top.
Yeah, those pokey kind of compositions, once you really kind of stick them in an area where they can't kite backwards and they can't just continue to poke and whittle down your HP before finally going to finish you off, like a Baron Pit or a Dragon Pit, they really do wind up falling apart. So we'll see if Goldcoin United can keep up the momentum in game number 2, or if eUnited are going to try something else and try to take a win here and tie it up.
Right, I mean, the thing about the Goldcoin United roster is that it is such a star-studded roster. Everyone expected it to become the strongest one in the Challenger scene. It struggled a little bit without Madlife in week one, but he's back now. They plugged him in, and hopefully it's going to fix a lot of their decision-making holes because, I mean, at least they came back later in this game despite the early game deficit.
Yeah, it's going to be a very important thing here, the fact that we do have Madlife playing. So why don't we just jump right into the roster so you guys can meet the teams. Starting on the blue side this time around, it's eUnited. Top lane is Licorice. In the jungle, it's Gilius. Mid lane is Fox. Bot lane is Deathly and Zazel.
And over on the red side is Goldcoin United. Top lane is Solo, jungle Santorin, mid lane Phoenix, and subbing in is bot lane Mashme, as well as to support Madlife.
Yeah, so they didn't have their Madlife last week, but this week they don't have their normal AD carry, and they have Mash filling in instead.
Right, instead of Ricaro, who they had last week. Maybe they weren't happy with his performance with against Fabi or something like that, or maybe they just think Madlife synergizes better. It's hard to know exactly, but that really is the big story in here is the fact that Madlife is back. We didn't get to see him in game 1. Hopefully, you know, it was his great shot calling and decision making that brought them back in that game.
And as you mentioned, it's kind of like the Cloud9 Challenger levels of hype because every single one of these players has professional experience, whether it be in the NA/LCS or in Madlife's case, the LCK for multiple seasons. People have been heralding Madlife as, you know, the God Hand. He's the original, the hook champ master. Like, he does pilot these teams and work extremely well from the bottom lane, especially when he has these playmaking support champions. But is it going to be just the fact that they have all this talent, but they can't synergize? Or is it going to be something where they do eventually gel together?
It does seem kind of like they're struggling right now with their synergy. Madlife coming in has not played overseas anywhere for a season yet or anything like that. So it really is his first time coming abroad to North America. And we talk about how great he is on playmaking champions, but it's really not the meta for that right now. You see a lot more poke focus, damage-oriented supports as opposed to the Alistars, the Thresh, the Blitzcranks, anything like that.
Yeah, and they did wind up having a very pokey composition themselves in game 2. We saw them play against, oh shoot, I'm forgetting who they played against last week. Oh, Big God's Jackals. They played their own kind of composition where they had the Varus, they had the Jace, they had the LeBlanc to go in and assassinate afterwards and no real big front line. So they fell behind early on. They were able to close that against eUnited, who are running a different take on a kind of similar composition where they didn't really have a big frontline tank aside from the support themselves.
I got to tell you, Tom, I hate those kind of pokey comps because as great as they are, as great as they feel in scrims when people play looser, you feel like they're the best champions in the game. You play them over and over. You smash with them. But then when you get into the actual competition, people don't roll over as easy. So despite the fact that you have a 5-6K gold lead, you still need to execute extra clean with these comps because they are so squishy. And like what happened last game, you find yourself pinned up against a Baron. You didn't kill someone beforehand. You just kind of rushed it because you've been struggling to close the game out. You're not used to people hanging around so long. You finally make a mistake, and then once you even that gold out, it's so hard to win versus a standard team comp.
Right. They kind of have like a dwindling timer on them. Like once you kind of hit like that 15, 20-minute mark, you're like, all right, this is their power spike. We're going to push down. We're going to take all these towers. It's going to be great. They're not going to be able to respond. Then you feel like you can take a Baron buff off of that because you wind up getting like some sort of advantage. But if it's not quite enough, you do wind up getting trapped in those pits and shut down. Another way to deal with it too is always that 1-3-1 split push. You could just be wherever the poke comp is not. If your wave clear is up to par and you can kind of keep up with them ever so slightly, you do wind up coming out ahead in that one. And that means it's going to be a lot on these junglers to really come in and kind of direct where the early game flow is going to be, especially if we see a very similar composition coming out, because both of these teams now have played something like that.
Right, and I mean, talking a little bit about Santorin, he's a player who has come under fire at points for not being able to get a ton done on the map in the early game, and he's not with a team that has a ton of synergy existing. Phoenix is not someone who always, asked for jungle pressure. He was more of a solo player. The bot lane is speaking 2 different languages, and solo really the only English-speaking solo lane.
Yeah, and it's going to be difficult. Santorin, in his interview last week when we talked to him, said he wanted to try to step up and be a bit more of a leader for the team. He wanted to be a voice to kind of make things happen. His scoreline still Santorin kind of scoreline, 6.3 KDA, 78% kill participation. That doesn't necessarily translate over into the game and making things happen, as we'll see these picks and bans phase coming at eUnited, very heavily targeting down on some very mage-like champions, 2 supports and a Cassiopeia, whereas on the flip side, I'd be surprised if there's no LeBlanc ban.
Right, this is kind of telegraphing a Ryze or Kha'Zix's first pick. You see the Camille Rengar come in. You see the most common counter pick against the Ryze, the Cassiopeia banned, as well as wanting to ban out the OP supports in Zyra Malzahar. So that way, when you take the Ryze first, the most that Gold Coin United can grab is actually just the Kha'Zix, as well as something else, most likely a Varus, one of the most commonly seen early picked red side AD carries at this point.
Well, instead, we see a Lee Sin ban from Gold Coin United, which is a very powerful pick for Gilius, but it's not the power pick. Like you mentioned, Ryze, LeBlanc, Kha'Zix, all that's available. It's going to be LeBlanc for Fox that they do wind up picking up for United.
Right, it's an interesting decision to go with the Lee Sin there. I'm not exactly sure what they were thinking when they did that, because you could target the Ryze itself if you want to do something else. You could target the LeBlanc. Going with the Lee Sin is basically saying, we're going to have the best jungle matchup, but we're going to give you a great mid laner in a trade for that.
Well, Gilius, when he needs to put his carrier pants on, often does default to that Lee Sin. It may be something that Santorin's had in the back of his mind from playing against him back in the EU Challenger Series. Don't think they actually wind up playing against each other on an LCS stage ever, but that's kind of like his God Gilius mode. When he needs to be the one to carry, he defaults to that champion, and by leaving up, like you mentioned, the Kha'Zix and the LeBlanc, they're forced to be like, all right, well, who's going to be the one that makes our plays happen the most? They decide it's going to be, we're going to play around Fox with the LeBlanc, and now that does pigeonhole Gilius' jungle matchup even more.
Right, it'll be interesting to see what he grabs here. I'm going to assume they're going to take the jungler here. Most likely the Rek'Sai is what you'd see, and it's actually going to be the Maokai locked in. So that means that the jungler pool can be pinched even harder by Gold Coin United coming into the second phase of this draft as they grab Ryze themselves, securing what is probably the second best mid laner on the patch, many people would say, behind the LeBlanc. So overall, Gold Coin United, it looks like that gamble with the Lee Sin ban might have paid off. eUnited is potentially going to be in a lot of trouble if they keep getting their jungler pool pinched, unless they have something in their back pocket.
Well, the Graves has been banned away as well, which isn't something you see a lot picked and banned away these days. So maybe Gold Coin United just has something kind of in the back of their minds that United may be preparing, or just the other teams don't really know about them. There was a very poke-heavy competition for United this time around in Game 1. They did favor that 1-3-1 kind of split-push composition. They picked up the Maokai, they picked up the LeBlanc. If they don't wind up having like one of those tankier kind of junglers, like if you pinch the Rek'Sai or something along those lines, they may not have, that front line to stick around with the 3 if they want to go to a very similar comp they played in Week 1.
Right, and the fact that you take the Maokai there, I mean, they're banning out a couple top laners now, trying to stop Solo from getting a carry matchup into it, but they're not actually securing a better matchup for the Maokai in the sense of, like, we took the best tank and the carries are already banned, and now we're going to continue banning tanks away, so you have to play a bad tank into it or a weaker carry into it. Instead, they're probably going to just end up in the Nautilus Maokai matchup or something along those lines. As we expected, Gold Coin United continuing to pinch that jungle pool. The Elise banned out. Rek'Sai still available. We'll have to see if Gilius decides to go with that one. It's probably the best option left, but some people don't play certain champions in the Challenger scene. We're going to see if Gilius opts for the Rek'Sai or go with something a little more substandard.
Well, the Rek'Sai had been played by Gilius in the EU LCS when he was on Schalke 04. He did not win a game on the Rek'Sai when he played it, so they may just be targeting Gilius on purpose for that. You did mention the fact that with the top lane pool pretty much left open in the tank matchup, they are going to pick the Nautilus into the Maokai. We just heard Brandini talking about that. Nautilus extremely good in the early stages of the game. Can potentially have some troubles against Maokai later.
And they do ban away the Shen that we saw in the first game. The Kha'Zix Shen matchup is one that's very annoying. The Kha'Zix jumps in, you try and target him, he goes invisible. Next time he pops back out, there's a Shen with him as well. It can be very difficult to deal with that, so they don't want any part of it. Ban the Shen away. They take a Nocturne here. So this is going to be the first time I'm seeing Nocturne in the competitive scene. It is extremely strong, especially on this patch with the lethality buffs that we've seen. Some people are saying it's one of the best junglers in solo queue right now. We'll have to see if it translates at all here.
And that Nocturne is going to be able to give you kind of that long-range engage as well. If you can combine like a Nocturne with a Maokai teleport, you're going to shut somebody down. You can combine it with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow coming out from Ashe. It's going to be a lot of dive potential coming out from the side of EUNITED. And as you did mention, not being seen a lot, hyped up from solo queue. Lethality build indicates that this is another kind of carry-style jungler for someone like Gilius who likes to play that kind of way. We'll have to see if he's able to utilize it extremely well. Last time we saw EUNITED win a game, it was game number 2 of last week. His synergy with the Kha'Zix and the Rise coming out from Fox in the mid lane was the reason they wound up winning. Can he replicate that with Nocturne, who may not gank that early?
Yeah, who knows? And we see Madlife hovering the Braum. There's a chance it's the Thresh. It's fine into Karma. It is the Braum. I got my hopes up for a little bit, thinking they would switch it to Thresh at the last second. We saw Goldcoin United playing Braum last week as well. This seems like something the team actually just likes playing with, most likely. And it is not very fun to play into Karma. You spend most of the early game just getting pelted, but it's not like you're going to die. It's very hard to die versus the Karma unless you go over aggressive and misstep yourself.
Well, one of the things the Braum gives you is he doesn't necessarily have a very strong laning phase, but he does really have a strong gank assist. You end up popping that passive on someone, you get a stun down, a Kha'Zix comes in, he can jump down on them, you can get a Rise roam, you can chain that CC. There's a lot of power coming out from that bottom lane here. On top of that, it also really kind of shuts down a lot of the poke in the early stages from that Karma and Ashe combination. You just throw out the Unbreakable Shield, you're not necessarily going to die, but you're not necessarily going to get a large advantage off of it.
Right, and it's obviously something that scales extremely well into the late game. That Unbreakable just, stops so much damage, and that is going to be a very interesting pick into LeBlanc. It's the kind of thing where if the LeBlanc comes in, you land a Q auto and you get her stunned very quickly, great. It's also very hard to stop her damage if you're not in the right position already.
Right, and so that Braum pickup, like you said, something Goldcoin United just as a team has been favoring overall. It's not necessarily been picked up a lot from many other challenger teams. I don't think I've actually seen a lot of it in competitive play worldwide either. This may just be a Goldcoin United special, but last time they ran the Braum, it was the only tank in their composition. This time around, they're running it in conjunction with the Nautilus, so that means that this Varus in the early game and the Kha'Zix are really going to be points of damage for them, while the Rise still has a little bit of time to scale up, needs to get that tier, needs to get that route of ages.
And the Rise versus LeBlanc matchup is honestly where I'm going to have most of my attention, along with the Nocturne. LeBlanc and Nocturne can both have huge roaming potential at 6. I'm excited to see what they're able to do with it. The Nocturne is not very easy to play in terms of jungling. You tend to get a little low, especially when you're messing around with the Raptors and stuff like that. So I'm concerned a little bit about the invades that can come out of the Kha'Zix, but that's what you're going to have to deal with. And it seemed like they were fine potentially having to pick it because they didn't freak out. They didn't pick that jungler earlier in the first rotation of the draft. Instead, they waited for some more bans to come in targeted at the jungle, and then they were happy to lock it in. So maybe this was a kind of bait where they were getting Goldcoin United to waste more bans.
Well, we'll have to find out here. And as you mentioned, the Nocturne and the LeBlanc, both of those picks are going to be the ones that make things happen. EUnited really relied on that synergy from Fox and Gilius in their last series against Tempo Storm to kind of rally back and wind up tying that one up. Goldcoin United, they're another one of the strong teams. EUnited, they don't have an easy schedule to kick off the Challenger Series. Play against Tempo Storm, one of the teams we thought was going to be extremely good. And then Goldcoin United, which, as we just mentioned in the intro, are kind of like the Cloud9 Challenger of last season. This is the super team of pro stars in the Challenger scene.
Right, and almost all of them have a ton of experience in the competitive scene. So we're going to load into the game, get to see what they're able to do with these picks. A very interesting draft overall, especially on the side of eUnited.
Yeah, and we'll get into game number 2 of this series. Goldcoin United did come back and win game number 1, despite being down for a large majority of the time. This time around, we'll see if they're going to be able to get any early game advantages themselves, now that they're not going to be getting poked out of everywhere. But I mean, they've got an Ashe, they got a LeBlanc, they got a lot of threats from the side of eUnited. Want to see if both of these teams actually wind up meeting up extremely early.
Right, it seems like there's a early invade coming down on the side of Goldcoin United to the bot side of the map, with only Rise still stuck on the top side. It is going to be a little hard to get anything. Looked like it was just a cheese, hoping they bumped into somebody.
They bumped into Deathly, and he saw everybody piling into the bush at once and was like, I'm going to walk back.
Yeah, I'm not going to get a part of that. What's interesting on the side of eUnited is the fact that they do generally still have pressure in a lot of their lanes. The Karma will give the bot lane pressure. LeBlanc has a ton of pressure early. And then we heard Brandini talking about the fact that Nautilus generally has the push priority over Maokai early, But then as the game goes a little bit later on, the Maokai starts getting control of that lane back as well. So they might have enough strength to cover the Nocturne until he can hit 6 and start making those really impactful plays.
Right, and then you have the LeBlanc to kind of assist on that as well. We've been talking about her potential to absolutely blow people up, but she's also one of the more pesky roaming mid laners as well. The assassin changes have done wonders to her damage kit, and of course, she still has the mobility to really make moves on the map extremely early on. And that could be something that can help out in some of those matchups that we said from Bandini before. Around level 6, kind of starts to turn into Maokai's favor. That could free up a dive on the top side of the map. That could free up LeBlanc to potentially move elsewhere. And while Ryze does have a lot of extra wave clear with his empowered spell flux now, he's not going to have that until he really goes back, gets his tier, starts stacking it up, has the mana pool to really compete.
Right, and we see both junglers starting on the top side of the map. Santorin grabbing his red buff, Gilius grabbing his blue buff. Gilius going to the Gromp, looking like he might go for a larger clear, while Santorin just heads down to the other side of the map right away, not messing around with Krugs or Raptors.
And I really want to keep our eyes focused out on this bottom lane because A, it's Madlife, and B, he's using your favorite Braum skin.
Oh, Lobster Fisherman Braum is back.
Fisherman Braum is back.
Have you heard any news about that? Is that under works already for on the side of Riot?
I'm sorry, I'm under a NDA for that.
Oh, okay. I get it. I know that lingo. That means it's coming. You just can't spoil it yet. I got you.
I'll spill the beans if you can name one of Santa's reindeer.
Blitzer.
I'm impressed. You didn't just go for Rudolph.
I mean, it's a whole song. I know some of it. Anyways, we see Gilius spotted moving into this brush. He is flanked by Kha'Zix. The flash in by Fox gets the flash out of Phoenix, but Kha'Zix comes in as well.
Yeah, Kha'Zix here to turn that gank around. The ghosts have been used by Phoenix as well, so he's able to catch up the Fox, and that's a first blood after some over-aggression from eUnited's mid lane.
An excellent bait by Goldcoin United. They saw that coming every step of the way. They let eUnited think they were getting the jump on the play, and after they had burned their summoner spells aggressively, in comes Santorin to clean up the kill.
Well, that's just Goldcoin United being at the right place, right time, and knowing how to turn something around. We said that Fox and Gilius, their synergy from Schalke, that could be a focal point for eUnited to focus on. Goldcoin United snuffed that one out right away, and now Santorin's looking to make something happen in the bottom lane. Jumps in onto Zeyzal. The piercing arrow does connect. Zeyzal's going to burn a health potion, but no additional summoners.
Right, you talk about the fact that Gilius and Fox have such good synergy coming in from their time in the European scene. Well, other teams know that. They know you want to go mid early, and so they're prepared for it. If a little bit of scouting lets you know what they want to do, that you can easily counter it, and that's what happened there. Gets them a nice first blood for Goldcoin United.
Last time around, they did it against Hatrix, and they did it against Sentinel in the combination from Tempo Storm. This time around, it's against two very experienced competitive players of their own in Phoenix and Santorin, and they're able to turn that one around. So now United, we'll have to see if they keep making very aggressive plays like that, because last week when they played against Tempo Storm, they kept continuing to try to shove that advantage in the mid lane. Gilius wanted to try to gank for Fox. This time around, he's already kind of wasted a little bit of his jungle time. Nocturne, we talked about how he wants to kind of farm to 6 and get that paranoia to really gank in. Where does this focus fall, and will that open Santorin up to kind of just roam around the map?
We'll have to see. Getting that kill early, we talked about how scary it can be if the Kha'Zix just start invading his jungle over and over. And giving that kill away early is a big concern now.
Yeah, first blood gold also means he picked up a full Caulfield's Warhammer on his first back of the game at just 4.5 minutes in. So that's already a lot of damage, a lot of cooldown coming out, which means more isolated Qs as Kha'Zix wants to step into the opposing side of the jungle.
I know you said you want to keep your eyes on the bot lane, on Madlife. Unfortunately, Tom, I don't think it's going to be the most interesting part of the game. It's mostly just going to be them pushing in. Even though Zeyzal got chunked out from the gank of Santorin, ultimately it's not going to be enough to really change the way that lane plays out. Yeah. Zeyzal just pots up, goes back to pressing Q.
Well, that's what kind of expected. The Braum lane isn't the most aggressive of lanes. It can be if you have the gank assist, but if Santorin's going to be elsewhere on the map, like maybe invading Gilius, maybe staying around the top side of the map like he is currently right now. We are just going to have these trades here where you do pop a passive and actually burn some summoner spells on Deathly and Zeyzal, maybe not necessarily handling the Braum damage that well, but now Madlife with some cooldowns up knows that he's going to take a little bit of trade damage, but they do burn the summoner.
Yeah, I guess Madlife telling me, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'll go aggressive in bot lane. We'll force out some summoners.
Well, that's what I'm expecting from this duo because they have the competitive experience. They have the advantage. They have all the years on them. Definitely was a standout member of the NA Scouting Grounds for Team Infernal Drake. His team did not make the finals of the Scouting Grounds. Otherwise, on the other side here, you have like LCK finalist MVP Madlife. You have Mash, who's had years of the competitive scene experience. So this should be a mismatch, even if it is not necessarily a winning lane for Goldcoin United.
Definitely the case. We see Phoenix making a recall, picking up some early Merc treads. Not too surprising to see that. You're concerned about getting chain CC in the mid lane with the help of the Nocturne whenever he hits 6. So if you can just move a little faster naturally, as well as a shortened CC duration, that would help him survive immensely. And that seems to be what he's focused on, just wanting to farm up and not get camped.
Yeah, you see a lot of people sometimes going for an early Negatron cloak. At this point, if you're worried about getting CC'd or just want that move speed, Rise just really wants to stack up mana. So going for the Merc treads, not the worst buy in the world for him. Like you said, it will keep him nice and mobile. Gilius still yet to hit level 6. On the opposite side, his opposing jungler Santorin in the same position. Both of these guys level 5. And after some explosive aggression in the early stages of the game and a couple of visits from Santorin the bottom side of the map, not a lot has really kind of come into the over-aggression right now. Both of these teams kind of have settled it down a little bit. And as we mentioned, this is what we wanted to see. Is Gilius is going to farm at the 6. Is he going to continue to try to force ganks in the mid lane? Looks like he's taken option number 1. And when he gets that paranoia, we'll look to see if he tries to force something mid again.
Interesting that the bot lane of Goldcoin United has chosen to not recall yet. It seems like he will not be going for the tier build most likely then, given that he hasn't put any focus on wanting to get that recall off. It is hard given that they're constantly pushed in to get a good recall timing in, but it is pretty important to start stacking that tier as soon as you can. So he might be electing to go a different build than what we've seen so far out of the Viruses on patch 7.2.
I've seen the Ghostblade and the Edge of Night, but I've also seen the serrated Dirk into tier, getting kind of like a first mini item power spike out of that early lethality on the serrated Dirk, and then going for the tier to kind of stack that one up. But at this point in time, it's kind of like in the same vein of Ezreal. You want to try to get to that later game power spike as quick as possible. You would assume that you would want to get the tier when you have the push advantage, but instead it looks like they're content to just kind of freeze things on their side of the map and continue to push. Well, they don't even have a CS advantage at this point, but they want to continue to push this bottom lane around.
Right, they had been down a little bit of CS just prior to this. Now this freeze is an extremely awkward spot for eUnited. They're going to need to call down Nocturne in a second once he's finished on Krugs to help deal with this. The wave is starting to slow push back, but if they step up, they might get jumped on here.
Yeah, looks like they're trying to bait for Santorin, but they spent a good portion of 15 or so seconds down in that river brush, and it looks like the side of eUnited, very patient, is not going to kind of bite for that bait there, as Santorin does wind up going back to recall.
Right, one of those game of chickens where both teams are kind of waiting for something to happen. Goldcoin United looking like they might have waited for the Nocturne to show up before going in. On the other side, eUnited scared that the Kha'Zix is there, afraid to walk up.
Both of these teams now have kind of gone into opposite sides of the map, as now Santorin is going to be poking around his top side of the map where his jungle is still up, just farm up. On the bottom side is going to be Gilius, clearing out his second red buff, has the paranoia available, but it does look at the side of Goldcoin United with that freeze on their side of the map. They have been kind of pushed into their own tower. They're not going to be available for a gank, but that is going to free up the side of eUnited. Not just the bot lane that's also putting focus on this mid lane. They really want to try to get Fox some sort of advantage over Phoenix early on.
Right, look like they're roaming up to potentially get a closer range arrow. A little less stun, a little easier to hit. Ultimately, they don't get anything. Both bot lanes finally get their recall off, and the Varus does pick up the tier and the serrated Dirk, going for the standard build after all.
Yeah, and he does have the Ionian Boots of Lucidity. Both of these AD carries going back on a lot of gold. Ash picks up her entire set of Berserker's Greaves in addition to a BF sword. So a little bit more damage coming out from these AD carries due to the deal later kind of back coming out from both of them. Whereas both of these mid laners, they haven't necessarily gone back in a little while. LeBlanc did go back and pick up a Negatron cloak, so a little bit afraid of some of the early game Rise damage, especially with those empowered overloads of the Qs coming out, being able to deal a ridiculous amount of damage if she ever gets rooted up trying to trade with some of those all-ins. And on the top side of the map, both of these top laners just kind of continuing to do their tanky stuff. Early Merc treads picked up for the side of Solo. Whereas on the flip side, you have Licorice going for an early Spirit Visage. But with no vision on the map for the bottom side of eUnited, GCU decides that they're going to try to start out that first Ocean Drake for themselves. They knew that the bottom lane went back. They were able to push out first just a little bit, just a ever so slight little bit, and they're able to transition that into a dragon.
And we see a dive coming in for eUnited, knowing that the jungler is down the bot side finishing off the dragon. Solo flashes out of his turret range. I don't know where he's running.
Yeah, he's running the opposite way. The depth charge was there. If he was under tower, they might have been able to pick up a trade kill, but he winds up going down, and that's the first paranoia for Gilius paying off.
Right, that was a really well-timed gank. The fact that at the exact same time Santorin was down the bot side of the map taking the dragon. Once they hear that global roar go off, they know they are free to force that dive. And, I mean, Santorin was probably going to die anyways, but I can't think that flashing the opposite direction was the best play to make there. And now, eUnited able to grab the first turret of the game on the top side.
Yeah, so they weren't able to capitalize on the mid lane gank, but they capitalized on their first gank in the top lane in a big way. They get a kill over, and it goes on to Gilius, so the Nocturne's going to be getting that, in addition to that first tower blood gold advantage that they're going to have for themselves. But GCU, they're going to try to make a response on the bottom side here. Rise has the Realm Warp available. The wave is pushed up the tower, and he's got a Kha'Zix in tow. A lot of damage goes on to Deathly here. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow comes out on the Phoenix right away, but the dive is here. Santorin does get exhausted as he jumps in. Deathly's going to flash out, but eUnited have Stand United, and they are collapsing down on this. Licorice joined the fray, and he took down Nash. At the same time, Solo's able to get a kill onto Fox, and now it's going to be a double kill for the Maokai as he picks up a kill on Braum. Nocturne gets another one as Solo goes down, and a dive goes wrong for GCU.
You see it ends up being a 3-for-1 on the side of eUnited, and I have to think that the slower play on that dive was the wrong move. Goldcoin United could have used the Realm Warp to come in instantly behind them, make it harder to react to. Instead, they choose to walk into it, telegraph exactly what's coming. We see a great decision by Deathly to just arrow Phoenix, get a jump on the play so you're not just sitting under your turret waiting for the other team to make the move, which gives them time to teleport in, and they're able to collapse and kill off Goldcoin United's attempt.
And that results in a second tower of the game falling just minutes after the first blood tower fell in the top side of the map. So 3 kills, 2 towers, all in the span of a couple of minutes. And like you said, it was Goldcoin United being a little bit hesitant to go on this and walking instead of realm warping.
Right, I mean, they're able to go right when the creep wave is there. So they're basically saying, here we come. You know, come up with a plan to stop us. And eUnited says, okay, we'll teleport in behind you, we'll arrow Phoenix, force him out of the fight early, and we just see how powerful that Maokai is at frontline. Doesn't even need his ultimate, he's just running straight forward. He picks up a double kill, and then Solo almost finishes off Deathly, but you see the power of the Karma and the shields that she's able to provide. And I just got to look at that Realm Warp and say, why not just come in from the Krugs and go directly in lane behind them and cut them off? I mean, you just are so much slower with the decision to walk.
I thought they were going to use the Realm Warp as well, but by just walking into that, they walked into their fate, and now eUnited jumping out to an early, close to 2,000 gold advantage, and now Solo, well, he's going towards the enemy tower again, uses the depth charge to try to knock up Fox. He has the European duo, though, coming in, but now the Realm Warp's getting channeled in the bottom lane, and this is dive round 2, but this time it's just Licorice going down there. In the meantime, they're diving Solo on the opposite side, even though it's their side of the map, as Fox is able to pick up a kill there, but Licorice, he gets a kill on Santorin.
He's not even low, Tom.
So that's eUnited picking up 2 kills for the price of none.
I mean, I could have told you that dive on the bot side was going to go pretty bad when it was a Maokai getting dove when the enemy team has no creep wave, but I didn't think they would really go that hard on it. As we see eUnited now, happy to see Goldcoin United not have anyone in the mid lane. They're going to get that turret really low as well.
Yeah, their dual lanes rotated to mid. They sent their solo lane down. It was a 2-0 into Maokai with a Spirit Visage and some Mercury Treads, but he was able to turn that gank around. I thought there were 3 or 4 people down there from Goldcoin United. That time they pulled the trigger when they shouldn't have.
Right, I mean, it's a Maokai. I understand he's alone under a turret, but you don't have a creep wave. You can't all walk in slowly and set the dive up perfectly. You need to go quickly. And against the Maokai, I mean, he has a ton of tools to survive. As we see, eUnited is not done yet. They're going to jump on the Phoenix in the top lane. He's going to drop as well, most likely, but no, he gets the shield and speeds away.
Yeah, the passive shield comes up for Rise, who's able to stay alive, but this is now eUnited just making moves across the map. That duo, Fox and Gilius on one side, and the remaining 3 members just kind of pressuring lanes everywhere else. They don't even necessarily, Deathly, Zazel, and Licorice don't have to be the ones to force plays. They just have to create their own kind of space across the map, while Gilius and Fox are just doing their roaming buddy system.
Right, and I mean, on the other hand, it also helps when the enemy team tries to target Licorice.
Well, yeah.
A very fed Maokai now. The thing is, that was after he picked up that double kill in the bot lane, so he's
right.
Pretty strong.
Well, and we can see right here, this is the Realm Warp that they decide to take. We have Phoenix, we have Santorin, we have Madlife, and we have Mash. So it's a 4v1 situation, and you think it's going to go great. Madlife is just sitting there tanking up the tower. The Twisted Advance goes down onto Santorin, but it looks like it switches aggro, and Madlife can't tank anymore, and that tower damage stacks up, and it just kills the Kha'Zix.
I mean, you see the Braum Q miss, there's no stun coming in. Ideally, what you do is you push a wave in there, Braum walks up and tags the Maokai to get the guaranteed passive, and then everyone autos him, stuns him, you get the root. None of that happened. They're unable to take him down. They give up a kill with a basically full health Maokai, looking at them like, what are you guys doing?
Well, week number 1, we interviewed Santorin, and he said that he wanted to kind of step up as the leader, and that Madlife was the main shot caller, and they seemed to lack direction when Madlife was not in the lineup. This time around, Madlife is in the bottom lane. They're trying to direct a 4v1 call, and the communication issues cost them a kill, and they don't even wind up getting one for themselves. So this is going to be the question for Goldcoin United. If they keep picking these compositions that require this level of coordination, they need their shot caller to be their initiation when he's playing like this kind of melee range support that needs to hit these crucial skill shots. That coordination needs to be there.
Right, and we see United starting to group up around the mid lane, trying to push their 3,000 gold advantage, getting that last outer turret in the mid lane. Unable to do so. The arrow goes wide just behind Phoenix, unable to get a pick off there. United probably going to have to give up this push for a moment.
There's a chilly breeze that blew by Phoenix there, just barely missing him on the backside with that arrow. But this is eUnited just showing that despite some early game things not exactly panning out for them, they are still able to kind of recover, and they have a little bit more of the coordination on their side. They're going for the second dragon of the game, will be there first. The teleport is being channeled from behind Goldcoin United. The dragons drop down extremely low, but Licorice is in the fray already, and it looks like it goes over to the side of eUnited as Zeyzal picks that one up, and now they're collapsing onto Goldcoin. Madlife goes down. Solo's going to be able to get a kill on the Fox. He's trying to turn on the Gilius, but the rest of this backline is falling as eUnited charges through. A Varus Knight will pick up a kill onto Gilius, but that's another kill for Licorice, a 5-0-3 Maokai. Now the rest of eUnited are turning on the Solo. He flashes towards his own side of the map this time around, and it looks like he's going to be able to get out.
eUnited showing that they are very comfortable with the Nocturne pick. They time his ultimate perfectly with terms of contesting the dragon buff. Karma's actually the one who's able to secure it. The Maokai kicking things off, diving in onto Goldcoin United, making it very difficult to figure out where the Nocturne's coming from, who he's on, and ultimately they're able to win that fight pretty decisively.
Yeah, and so this is the second dragon in the game. They set this one up. They have the vision control around, and they actually have Maokai in the pit with them here to tank it up, and that's the block that CP is in.
Right, and after the Maokai kicks things off, it's very easy to follow up. We see definitely unfocused almost this entire fight, free hitting on the members of Goldcoin United. Solo is there trying to get some kills on the back line, finish people off. Gilius ultimately gets sniped by Mash, but he's still going to go down with the carry of Deathly untouched. As well as a carry of Licorice. I mean, it's a 5-0 Maokai.
Yeah, at this point, he's kind of the tank carry. He's got himself a Dark Seal, which is fully stacked at 10 stacks. I wouldn't imagine he goes for a Medjai unless he's feeling a little bit too good about himself in this one. But still, that's a very beefy Maokai with the Spirit Business and the Sunfire Cape completed entirely. And we are going for like this lethality kind of style that you see coming out from the Varus. Sure, it scales extremely well against players into the later stages of the game, and it can shred through some of these less tanky targets, but you're not going to be dealing a lot of damage to your big top lane tank like Solo is right here. Only the Spirit Vision for him. It's not going to really help him against this Nocturne, but the Realm Warp comes in, and they completely turn this around, but now Licorice follows in, and the big beefy Maokai is providing the front line as Deathly picks up the kills. Fox is in the back, and he will go down, but the rest of eUnited is still alive. It's a 4v3, but the health bars are still healthy on the side of eUnited. Deathly's finally taking some damage, but they are going to shut down onto Solo. It's a 2-for-2 trade again.
Both teams playing that one a little loose. We see that it starts off with eUnited going hard onto the tank of Solo. He's able to survive long enough for the Realm Warp of Phoenix to bring in almost the entire team to contest that fight. But eUnited's not far behind. They come in as well. And then the slight misstep by Fox, thinking he was safe to re-engage now that his team was there. He's still isolated versus Kha'Zix. He goes down real easy.
And so does that fourth tower of the game. Fourth unanswered tower for eUnited. They got themselves a solid 5,000 gold advantage, and they might get themselves a Madlife.
Madlife's trying to start a fight with the team. He's able to lock them up in this corridor as Santorin and Mash are there to try and help, but he is not as tanky as he thinks. And the ultimate from Gilius coming in to get another kill.
Paranoia is there. He winds up kind of trading his life against Rise, but Licorice is still a big tree that refuses to be cut down in the front line. They're turning on the Solo. Their tank is not nearly as strong as our tank. It's definitely picks himself up a killing spree. 307 Ash, 706 Maokai chasing down onto the Rise as Fox picks up that kill, and things are falling apart for Goldcoin United.
I can't quite say I hate the idea of Madlife trying to start a fight there. He was trying to punish them for overstaying and finishing off that top turret, but ultimately eUnited is too far ahead to be punished like that, and they're able to clean up another team fight for themselves. We'll take another look at it. Oh, this is the initial team fight where they open up onto Solo in the top lane. So it's really hard to kill a tank, generally, even if he is behind. And we see Solo, once he gets that W on and the root, he gets that Courage of the Colossus pop. The port in from Phoenix is able to collapse on the Gilius.
Brings the whole team.
Yeah, gets the entire team up there. They're able to pop him. But then we see, like I said, eUnited not far behind. They're going to chase down. And then it was actually a hook that allowed him blind into that brush to grab Fox and pick him off. I thought Fox decided to go back in. That's my mistake. That's a great hook by Solo, actually, knowing that he's in there.
So it was the turnaround there for a 2-for-2. But then, after this, they wound up taking the tower. Goldcoin United, like you said, it's not the worst re-engage after this tower falls, because you figure United hasn't really gone back yet. They haven't really been able to sustain themselves up. Their mid lane and their jungler are dead. They're trying to get a little overextended. Let's just try to start this fight now that the rest of our team is coming back.
Right, you see the TP flank coming in as well, but Santorin gets chunked out really hard before he's able to really do anything in this fight. And then the Nocturne ult comes back up. He's able to join the fight from far away. This is a very long, extended fight, giving time for the LeBlanc, who had died earlier, to get all the way back around to this fight, as Solo is now caught out by himself. Phoenix trying to help his homie out as best he can, ultimately is unable to do so, and now he himself is going to get caught out as well.
This is one heck of a long fight. It's been going on for...
Yeah, I have no idea what's happening in the game anymore. It's so long.
At this point, it's 15 kills to 7, so let's catch you guys up to that. We're at 22 minutes into the game, and that 6,500 gold advantage now in favor of eUnited. Dragon is going to be a Mountain Drake that comes up next that will spawn in about 30 seconds. Baron, of course, is on the map. Just recently spawned, but this is what eUnited was doing in game number 1. We mentioned for the first 34 minutes of that game, they had a poke composition. They didn't necessarily want to go for fights. They were chunking people out. They're going for tower objectives. They're going for all these different things. They had a large advantage up until they made a misstep. At this point in time, they have a way better team fighting composition and an unkillable Maokai tank in the front line. Now it's on to them to not make that mistake.
Right, I mean, it's much easier to close the game out from here. You have a great tank for forcing around Baron. You have great turn off the Baron, a ton of tools to get onto Goldcoin United when they come to contest that. You just need to play it slow, not get too excited and over-force it. Going for this Mountain Drake will help, of course, around the Baron buff. Getting that 10% bonus true damage will be huge, and Goldcoin United is too far behind to realistically contest this right now.
So that's eUnited picking up their second dragon of the game, the third overall, and that Mountain Dragon is going to be one that they can utilize to try to push forward and take those inner towers. Utilize to take that Baron buff, which will help them take towers. Now it's going to be, how do they push forward? Are they going to be able to safely establish forward vision? We've seen challenger teams, this is one of their weakest spots. Being able to break those tier 2 towers and being able to do so because of getting superior vision, just to make sure that they're covered.
Right, it is a difficult thing to do because eUnited doesn't have a good tank aside for the Maokai, who's the one with the TP advantage. So
well, he's the best tank right now.
Well, I mean, obviously the best tank. I just mean that if you want to split him to try and get a TP flank off, it can be difficult when you need him tanking the Baron.
Correct.
So it can be a little bit of a sticky situation there because you don't really have anyone else who's happy to sit there wailing on the Baron and getting wailed on back. But ultimately, they're far enough ahead. It's early enough in the game. You don't need to force super hard. You can play this slower and just hope that the enemy team gets picked off at some point. Just keep pushing in waves and hope they make a misstep. And eventually, the Baron will become much easier to take.
Well, the first step for that is going to be getting a little bit of vision now. We did see the Scrying Bloom being used across the Baron pit just to reveal if Goldcoin United is going to be putting any counter wards down in that area. And if you are Goldcoin United, you do have a Nautilus, you do have a Braum, so you do have some of those tanks that can kind of buddy up together, put down some defensive vision, but at this point in time, they haven't really been able to do that quite yet. Madlife hasn't really been able, he's just starting to assemble some sort of ward coverage in their top side jungle, and we did see Nautilus pushing out the bot lane, but did not have any extra wards in his inventory. Goes back, picks up some control wards for himself. Santorin's doing the same thing. Now it's on their job to deny that vision and not get picked off again.
Right, that can be pretty difficult to do then when you're greeding out for things like a red buff. Ultimately, Goldcoin United decides it's not worth to contest that one. So both teams actually do have fairly good tools for doing the 1-3-1. Obviously, LeBlanc with TP, great at splitting. A little rough versus the very, very tanky Nautilus. On the other hand, you have Phoenix on Rise. He has the Realm Warp to join a fight. He can match up as well. So they both have tools to try and split up the enemy team and get pickoffs, but ultimately it's going to be eUnited with the pressure advantage, able to decide exactly what they want to do.
And Fox on this LeBlanc in the bottom lane, while he might not be able to deal the most damage against the Nautilus, has a teleport available, so he can still match teleport plays. And like you said, this lets Licorice on the top side of the map walk in with the rest of eUnited, get some established forward Baron vision, and really start to push up these waves on the top side of the map so they can contest that objective, while Fox is very slowly whittling down the HP bar of Solo, but going through his own mana bar quite a lot. But while that trade is going on, that's going to give eUnited a signal to start on Baron.
Right, I mean, you can see just how little damage Licorice takes from the Baron buff. They decide to peel off it after getting spotted out by Gold Coin United. I like that decision. Not over-forcing, push that mid wave up, do it again, clear out that vision in the pit, and just keep going back and forth between the two.
Well, now the dance is on. We'll have to see which one of these two is the better partner in the dance. eUnited last game, they threw that lead away because of a bad Baron call, because they got themselves caught in the pit. We saw that replay in the introduction to this game. This time around, they think that they have what it takes to secure it. It's up to Gold Coin United to try to steal it, try to shut them down. Both members on the bot side are away from each other, so the teleports can come in. It looks like LeBlanc going to be channeling something of her own. Looks like she's actually going for a recall. Not really a hard commit on the Baron by eUnited, but it is extremely low. There's an okay amount of poke coming out from GCU, but they're going to turn. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow lands on the Phoenix. The Paranoia lands on the Mash, and the turn is here. Fox has come in with the teleport, but Mash will pick up the first kill on the Gilead. eUnited has scattered throughout the fight, and it's Santorin that picks up Fox. Now there's only 3 members left from the side of eUnited, but they are chasing down the rest of Gold Coin. There's still an Ashe, there's still a Maokai, 0 deaths between those two, but they do wind up trading 2 for 1 in favor of GCU.
Yeah, Gold Coin United did a really good job there collapsing onto the threats of eUnited as they showed up. First, it was the Nocturne diving in straight away onto Mash. They get him. That forces Gilius to flash out right as Fox shows up from the TP flank. When he tries to go in, once again focus down. With these threats coming in one at a time and not being grouped up, it makes it very easy for Santorin on Kaz to get a lot of isolated damage onto them and ultimately pick off those 2 threats.
Yeah, both of those kind of backline dive buddies from the European LCS keep going down in a lot of these fights. And the best part about this, if you are a GCU fan or a member of GCU here, is that Solo did not have to burn his teleport to get into that fight, with 2 members of eUnited going down extremely quickly. It was only a 3v4 situation after that.
Right, I mean, basically what happened was that Baron situation was so extended and Fox was not pushing out any pressure on the bot side of the map. Solo realized that at some point that TP is going to come in. He can save his if he just starts running up there. And that was a great decision by him in order to keep that. It is pretty hard for Gold Coin United to find a way to use that, but ultimately great to hold on to that resource. And here's the fight and what we're talking about. So they make the decision to peel off. The Ashe arrow comes in, able to snipe onto Phoenix, but we see just Gilius forced to flash out right away, basically, as he gets focused down by Kha'Zix and Mash Me. And then once again, Fox goes in by himself. Santorin, another isolated target. It's great that you're an assassin, but you're fighting another assassin. So ultimately, it's kind of hard to win that. The Maokai had difficulties getting involved in the fight while also protecting the backline of Deftly and Zeyzal, who, I mean, they're probably 2 of the biggest carries in this team comp right now. That Ashe is extremely strong, sitting on 3 items, but couldn't actually get to a priority target.
Right, and so now Gold Coin United get a little bit of a sigh of relief, because with the teleport down from LeBlanc but not from Solo, that means that Licorice is going to have to be the one to match the Nautilus in the split push. What eUnited can do is go back to what they did in week 1, optimize that 1-3-1, utilize LeBlanc to kind of push out that top lane side of the map, which he was doing just a little bit earlier before that replay. But now you're going to have the 2 teleport members back on the bottom side of the map. The Dragon is going to be coming up. It's a Cloud Drake. We'll see if these guys actually fight over it, because as we approach the 30-minute mark, that bonus movement speed not going to be as impactful as it is in the early stages of the game.
Right, I like the decision here by GCU to move up to the Baron, start threatening to contest vision around there, when eUnited ideally goes for the Dragon. Nocturne going to decide to solo that one away with the help of Definitely Now. Not the most useful Dragon at this stage in the game, but better to pick up than not, setting up for the next Dragon, which will be the Elder Dragon, excuse me. And ultimately, it's going to be on them to make a play around Baron again. They do have the tools to do it. That last team fight, the Ashe arrow not hitting the right target, Gilius ending up alone, then Fox. I mean, they basically have to reforce that situation, but play it correctly this time.
Well, one of the strengths you talked about with Nocturne was kind of like the solo queue dominance he's been able to achieve. And you see him going for that lethality build, had picked up the Warrior Enchantment, went for the Edge of Night. Now has gone back and picked up a Locket because, well, he's just not surviving when he dives into the fight. And like you mentioned, is a terror in solo queue because you can delete one target and the team is not coordinated. But in these kind of situations, when you are going in and you know that you're going to be going onto the target that has the most priority, in this case, either MASH or either Phoenix, the rest of the team can just turn around and blow you up because you hadn't gotten tanky yet.
Right, and it's not just that, but the support's often in the correct position, which doesn't always happen in solo queue with the exhaust, to, you know, kind of isolate out those assassins as they go in.
Well, so far, the assassin combination from eUnited only combining for 5 of their 16 kills, which is less than their better assassin MarkZ, who has picked up all tank items and now his Guardian Angel being completed.
Very, very tanky assassin. The assassin built all tank items, but he's snowballing out of control, 708.
Is it still technically an assassin if like you go in and slowly whittle somebody down, or is that more like something else?
You're just a very clumsy assassin. You're not smooth. You don't go in there and, like, you know, slit their throat and get out. You're just there wailing away slowly.
I just imagine like somebody who like trips over somebody and like stabs them with like a spoon or something and like slowly whittles them down. It's a clumsy assassin.
Very clumsy assassin.
That's how I would be if I was ever an assassin. I'd probably just triple. I'd have 7 deaths instead of 7 kills though, because I would just trip over myself.
I don't know if a real assassin can die 7 times, Tom. eUnited grouped up around the mid lane, trying to get the control back, not feeling too confident with their TP usage anymore, just grouped up and trying to push in the mid lane. It's kind of a standoff from here because you don't have pressure really anywhere. They do have the side waves building on their own, but they're not going to be able to take a major objective with those.
Nah, not quite yet. Although, with everybody kind of grouped up in this own area, those minion waves pushing for the side of eUnited, they will eventually have to deal with it whether they crash into a tower, they push a little bit too far towards that inhibitor tower that is vulnerable in the top side of the map for the side of GCU. But both of these tanks kind of all over the place right now. It's not going to be the easiest Baron to start up, but it is going to be a little sneaky duo being done here by Licorice and Deathly, because he can sit here and tank this up for absolutely ever. They've been tanking that for a couple of seconds. They got down to about half HP, and Licorice was still about full, which means they can go in for this engage, but they've gotten on the Madlife, and they've gotten onto the front line. Solo's going to want to get Gilius, who's not able to pick up a kill before he wants it going down. They are going to get the flash out of Madlife, as now Goldcoin United is on the retreat, but nobody from eUnited was able to pick up anybody from the side of GCU, and they just lose their jungler.
Goldcoin United is playing this way, way better than eUnited is. eUnited needs to play this much slower. They had the Nautilus stuck alone in the front line. There's no reason for Gilius to present himself as a target. We're going to take a look at this replay. Solo needs to walk forward to pressure the Baron. eUnited makes the good decision to just start hitting Solo. Right now, they're free hitting him. If Nocturne never goes in, then they're both just hitting tanks, but instead Nocturne goes in, presents himself as a target, he gets popped instantly, and then it's harder to follow up from here. If they just kept Nocturne alive and used him to just basically be an annoying visual blocker just with that paranoia, that would have been much better than presenting yourself this squishy target for the enemy team to focus instead of hitting the MarkZ. Ultimately, Goldcoin United picks up a kill off of it. They're able to go back and deal with the minion waves that were pressuring. eUnited could have played that much, much slower. I love the idea of just trying to sneak the Baron with Ashe and MarkZ, but once they react to it, just back off. Play it slow.
Well, they didn't want to at that point. We're approaching the 34-minute mark, and this is where the game kind of slipped out of their fingers in game number 1, and it was around these Baron calls. This time around, we've seen eUnited go for 2 consecutive Baron calls that they have not been able to capitalize on. We thought at 23 minutes when we came out of that crazy prolonged top fight replay that it was going to be eUnited pressuring the Baron. We're here 11 minutes later. They still haven't been able to take it down. All they've been able to get since then has been a Cloud Drake.
I mean, they are pressuring the Baron, they're just not doing it so well. And it is actually kind of hard to play that Nocturne in a team fight like that. You see them focusing the tank, you want to go in, you have your paranoia down, it's about to time out, you feel like you need to use it as Licorice. A little caught out here, though he is pretty tanky.
He's pretty tanky, but I don't know if he's immortal, barely taking any damage as he does get caught there. Blast plants himself out to safety. And now Goldcoin United immediately retreat back to that tower. The wave clears here from Kha'Zix. They have the Rise, they have the Varus. Pushing up waves without a Baron buff is not going to go in favor of eUnited. They really do need that Baron buff to break the base, but as you mentioned before, they're a little bit too impatient. They kind of pulled the trigger to go on the Nautilus. They didn't really focus well on that team fight, and they lost all of that setup that they've been doing for the past double-digit minutes.
Right,
I have
Fox.
Fox on, so I can't tell.
Right, Fox is on the flank there, trying to get a good move onto the back line of Gold Coin United. He's not quite able to do so, so Licorice is going to start the fight off, going in straight to the front line.
Yeah, he is dropping down extremely low. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow lands on Solo, but Gilius now coming in on the back. He does get on the mash, and they will be able to take him down as Licorice goes legendary. Gilius gets a follow-up kill on Madlife, and this could be the fight that eUnited was waiting for. Santorin did pick up Fox, but now they are going to focus down on Solo, who, much like his name, is all by himself in an enemy team. That's going to be 3 kills picked up by eUnited, and that's GCU stepping too far forward.
Right, they're able to get the 3-for-1, a huge fight for them. It looks like they're electing to go for the Elder Dragon instead of the Baron buff here. A little surprising to see them prioritize that one higher. Ultimately, they feel like they might need to win another team fight at Baron, and this is better for that. So I can see that understanding a little bit, but ultimately, it was finally getting Gold Coin United to open up their backline a little bit that allowed the Nocturne to go in and get the assassinate. Great play by Definitely in that team fight, flashing over the wall to get the follow-up. I want to track him in this fight, especially because he's just sitting behind the Maokai, taking pot shots at whatever frontliners he has access to. And he's going to keep doing that. And then once this comes in, it destroys the formation of Gold Coin United, and he's able to get onto the backline as well.
And as you can see, as soon as that backline was open and exposed, eUnited, with all the damage dealers they have on the team, and with all the damage that Maokai can stoke up, they were able to crack open the ooey-gooey center of the GCU composition, get to those carries, and take them down. Now with the Elder Dragon available, this is going to be a much harder Baron for GCU to contest, because if Gold Coin United peels off, they have 3 stacks of Elemental Drake to burn through with that Elder Dragon buff.
All right, we see them camped up in the jungle, hoping to catch a face checking GCU. Doesn't look like they're going to take the bait quite yet. One thing that interests me is the fact that they decide to keep the Maokai grouped up for being able to take the Baron. And I think it's making it a lot harder to actually team fight. If the Maokai ever came from behind, as we see them shoot the arrow hitting Solo here.
It does land on Solo, and they're all going to pile in on this, and Gilius pops the Paranoia, and they're going to go in. Solo tanking up with the Curse of the Colossus Shield, but Licorice is acting as a buffer between the rest of eUnited and the enemy team. Gilius will finally take down Solo, and Santorin goes down as well. Braum will follow after that as Madlife falls, and a double kill picked up for this 10-0 and 11 Maokai.
Feels like eUnited finally figured out how they want to team fight. Even though you have these diving champions, you don't always need to go for the enemy backline. If you have to hit the front line, hit the front line. Your tank is way stronger than theirs. You will melt him down first. They're able to do that. They kill Solo, they kill Santorin, and they're going to kill the Baron buff.
Well, now eUnited has everything that we thought they wanted to get about 10 minutes ago. They've gotten the Elder Dragon since that has spawned. They've gotten the Baron buff. They're able to take fights to GCU, and like you said, they've kind of figured out the formula to do so. Now they have to take the base to tie the series.
And with the death timers not being finished yet, it looks like they'll be able to grab this in their inhibitor turret as well. Not quite getting the minion backdoor bonus off of it because the cannon creep's a little too far away, but Gilius is fine with that. He's going to tank it up.
Yeah, but that does save the inhibitor, the fact that they had no minions there, and they had to tank it up for just a little bit longer. So GCU will respawn just in time to defend their inhibitor, but they were not in the right place at the right time. Even though this arrow lands onto Solo, that's just the go button that eUnited wants.
Right, they just need to start hitting somebody, and with the bonus true damage burn that they're getting from the Elder Drake, it means they are definitely going to be able to win this team fight. Solo goes down pretty easy here, and from there it's just chase down onto Santorin, who's still pretty squishy on that Kazakh. Fox getting the follow-up kill on the Madlife as well. And that's how things go. I mean, you just need to melt the front line sometimes, even when you have, a Nocturne who loves blowing up squishies.
Now eUnited, they got to start melting some towers. Elder Dragon buff going to expire in just a little bit. Baron buff still on for a couple of minutes. They're going to be the ones in a power position right now. And as they've been grouping up, they've been able to take down these fights with GCU. That time around, like you said, they just wanted to find somebody to hit. They hit the Nautilus in the front line. They were able to position Licorice between them and the enemy team, and everything went extremely well. Gold Coin United, they haven't really been able to get those picks on the Gilius. He's been a little more conservative with Paranoias, and Fox has been going in after Licorice has been diving in at this point. So they had nothing left because they used so much on the Maokai.
Right, and we see just how quickly they can take these turrets down now. 39 minutes into the game, almost 40 minutes. Another ultimate from Gilius setting up Licorice to go into the back line.
Yeah, he goes in on the Solo, but Madlife now is taking a brunt of the damage. Santorin tries to jump out. His life bar is already dwindling. The rest of GCU just have to back away. An inhibitor's going to go down, and there's one in the mid lane that they can rotate on over to. eUnited taking 2 inhibitors off of that push. Nobody dies. Doesn't really matter because they got what they came for.
Yeah, that's exactly what you need. You don't need to kill the enemy team and end the game now. Grab both those inhibitors, get back, use the last remaining little bit of time on your Baron buff to get the empowered recall and reset off, and then get back into that top line and keep the pressure up.
They got the Baron buff recall. They're going to go back, spend a lot of that money that they just acquired, and we're already cresting into the 40-minute mark of this game, so they're already coming across like that full build status as well. I believe Licorish's Maokai has kind of been at that status for a while already, because as we mentioned before, 10, 0, and 11, 342 CS. That is a very powerful Maokai.
It's kind of surprising to see he has grabbed so much CS, considering the amount of time he spent grouped up with his team from then on. I guess he was stealing it away from everyone else in the mid lane.
I guess so. He was like, listen, guys, I got this. I'm the carry this time.
I mean, he definitely is. Hard to argue with the performance that Licorice has put in this game.
Well, the roaming capabilities of the Fox and Gilius combination, I guess that's where a lot of the mid lane CS is funneled to. On the opposite side, Phoenix, he still has about almost 100 CS advantage over, but his Rise pick here, despite purposely being left open, they left open the LeBlanc, they left open the Rise, they're fine giving away the LeBlanc. The Rise pick hasn't been as impactful as Phoenix's LeBlanc was in week 1.
Right, and I think the fact that eUnited seemed reasonably prepared for whatever was going to happen in this draft with the Nocturne pick comboing with the LeBlanc for that dive power. It definitely seems like something that didn't catch them too off guard, and they seem pretty comfortable with a pretty massive gold lead in this game.
While the Baron buff may not be there to help push these minions any further, but there are 2 waves of super minions in the base of Goldcorn United, and despite having a large amount of wave clear between the Varus, the Rise, and the Kha'Zix, it's going to be a little bit difficult to deal with them. Gilius is going to get redemption up there by Zeyzal, so he will stay alive, but all eUnited have to do is wait for minions to get into the base. They can take that top lane inhibitor, they can slow play this all day. Those Nexus towers are exposed.
Right, and we see them open up onto solo yet again. The Licorice is taking a pretty big chunk back himself at this point.
Yeah, the Chains of Corruption do wind up coming out, so that lockup is already gone, and the minions are being pushed down onto the Nexus tower. So eUnited do take a decent amount of damage. Goldcorn United doing a good job of just kind of forcing them out of their base for now.
Definitely seems like Goldcorn United has the ability to melt the Maokai if they really need to. And when they have the turrets to defend them, they're able to keep their backline healthier, though eUnited says we're not done pushing yet. They're still grouped up around the mid side, or top side, despite having a number of champions at around half health.
Well, they still have 1 Ocean Drake. It's not going to be the biggest regeneration bonus, but it will be enough. It is mashed on the side by GCU, however. So those are both are going to be able to heal up just by staying relatively far away from one another. There's still 2 lanes of super minions pushing in, but those inhibitors went down a couple of minutes ago. Baron buff has already faded, which indicates that those inhibitors will be respawning in just a couple of minutes, maybe like 2 or so. But now it's, like we mentioned, eUnited. They took the Baron buff, great. They took the Elder Dragon buff, awesome. They took 2 inhibitors off of that, awesome. Can they end it before this Baron, or are they going to have to try to force another do-si-do around the Baron?
I think they should definitely wait for the Baron buff to come back up. It is relatively hard to, get a wave into that top side with the Varus there. They did have one pushed into the turret for a little while, but they only did that because they had everyone else grouped up around the bot side, and then rotating through the base was where they ultimately got cut off a little bit. Licorice deciding the W in. They can go for that again, or they can just slow play it from here, wait out the 1.5 minutes basically until the Baron buff, and then you either win a fight at Baron and end the game, or you grab the Baron and take all the inputs down again.
Well, looks like that might be the play that eUnited is looking for. Continuing to shove in these waves and keep Goldcorn United in their own base. Are continuing to ward on the opposing side of the map, just making sure that if Goldcorn United step out of their jungle whatsoever, they have the wards there to spot them where they are, and they do, of course, still have the LeBlanc, the Nocturne, the ability to really kick people out of position if they step too far, and like you mentioned, that will be extremely useful to have up when that Baron will be coming up in about 45 seconds. Right,
and as much as of a map position advantage that eUnited has, they don't have a huge itemization advantage on anyone other than really Licorice. As we see, Phoenix is completely full build, and Mashme is right behind him, just sitting on the Hex Drinker. But other than that, it's mostly full build as well. So it's not like the carries of eUnited are extra strong, as even Santorin himself is pretty strong at this point as well. It's just that tank advantage that they have.
GCU, no vision at all. Good Void Spike there. Just check out the fact that eUnited was waiting in the brush. Licorice gets hooked in, decides to follow up with a Twisted Advance. Like you said, these full builds using that Licorice, he's not super unkillable anymore, but the Braum ultimate's in the backline trying to zone them away, but GCU goes dropping low. 1 Kha'Zix is dead. LeBlanc's able to be picked up there by Rise. Ashley able to pick up a kill on the Varus, and now they're scattering throughout the fight, but Phoenix still relatively healthy, now being the focus here from eUnited. Even though Nautilus picks up Karma, the carries are going down from the side of GCU. Madlife is the only one with his life, and with 3 members still alive, eUnited are going for the respawn inhibitors, and they're going for the series tie.
It's been a very hectic game, but ultimately eUnited wins the team fight right at the end of the game. It's going to be enough for them to take it. Huge game out of Deftly and Licorice in particular. No surprise, the 2 of them are left alive to help close this game out.
17-0 and 28 combined scoreline for the AD carry and for the top lane Maokai. eUnited had control of that game pretty much from, well, not from the get-go. They had that little struggle at like the level 4 gang, but up until that, like any point after that, it seemed like once they hit level 6, once they utilized that Nocturne ultimate very well, they just had a lead and slowly were able to close the game out.
Right, and I think the big play, of course, was that top side play. Initially, after we saw the dragon go down, you could hear it roar, and that opened up Gilius to go in basically for that dive on the top side. They get the kill, and that's really what started snowballing that Maokai out of control, because after that, I mean, it was off to the races.
Yeah, and you mentioned that early tower take that even snowballed into a bottom lane fight around the 11-minute mark, where they were able to take a 3-for-1 advantage. I believe they pushed it into a tower after that, and this is when they just completely opened up the map. And actually, this is the fight where things started out even earlier, because this is where that dive did not work out for GCU.
Right, I mean, you have to look at Phoenix's decision to not Realm Warp in there. He basically runs up with the creep wave, telegraphs that he's coming, gives it very easy for Deftly to decide to fire the arrow at him. Great decision, get a jump on the play, force him out of the fight so he can't be as aggressive, and then Licorice getting the TP off, cutting off the escape, able to pick up a double kill there, and then you combine that with the initial kill on the top side. He's starting to get really out of control, and then there's that bot side dive that happens again, where he's able to go off 1v4.
Yeah, he got himself a double kill in that fight we just saw, so that was just enough for him to stay alive when they tried to go in with the Realm Warp later on and dive him again, and he just became this unstoppable force of nature as it continued to spiral away for eUnited, including that fight in the top lane around the 20-minute mark. It lasted for what felt like an eternity, but that's because the tanks just didn't die, and it eventually turns into a 4-for-1 overall.
Right, and this was one of the last good plays eUnited made for a little bit of time. They go on to Solo to start things off. He's very tanky, doesn't go down right away. Good Realm Warp by Phoenix to bring in the entire rest of the team. They collapse onto Gilius, pick him off, but it's not far behind for eUnited to collapse. And they start winning this fight again. Great hook by Solo here once again, sniping Fox out of the brush, pulling him in. But ultimately, they are too weak to really keep fighting. Definitely was mostly untouched over the course. It starts getting low a little bit, but they finish Solo off. And then this is where the fight gets a little crazy. As we speed it up, we see they decide to stick around to finish off the top turret. They're able to get that. Madlife makes a decision after they finish this off that, hey, they've stayed around long enough. I think we can actually collapse back onto them. So after they finish this turret off, Madlife is going to try and get the flank off, cut them off. And that's where, despite Gold Coin United's best efforts, they're not actually able to win this fight once again. Even with Solo getting the good teleport behind, Santorin gets chunked out basically right away, and Madlife goes down.
This is basically 2 or 3 fights that kind of chain into one to another, and the downside for GCU is just the fact that they weren't able to really come out on top even after they were the ones that re-engaged the fight in the top side. They try to re-engage again when they had their members on the respawn, but eUnited, they just were able to clean everything up.
Right, it was definitely a great fight out of eUnited again. After that, they started struggling with their map plays around the Baron buff, but they had generated such a lead for themselves that they had quite a bit of breathing room.
Well, as far as that game goes, we can hear straight from a member of eUnited as Deftly's joined us on the desk after that victory against Gold Coin United. How's it feel?
It feels great. Personally, I thought it was going to be pretty shaky since we're playing against 5 really good players. Also, there's Madlife. He's really well known. There's a move named after him. And I honestly didn't know what to expect going into it, but I'm really proud of what me and my team have done.
How'd it feel to lane against him? He picked the Braum into the Karma. It's not the best matchup, obviously, for Braum, but he was still able to get some summoners out of you guys. Was that just Madlife doing Madlife things, or just you think that's how the matchup goes?
I feel like I kind of over-respected him a bit. I feel like I could have pushed it a little further, but I gave him like way more respect than necessary.
Right. And then following that, they started to bring a lot of pressure down to the bot side. We saw Phoenix make an attempt on you guys, and you shot the arrow at him. Was that your decision, or was someone telling you to, like, you know, try and cut them off before they could, like, really get that dive going?
It was like a mix. I called that I was just gonna arrow the Rise that came through like our jungle,
right?
Since he was like really out of position, so we immediately called for TP and we went with the play.
Yeah, and some of that decision making, I mean, you came out of the North American scouting grounds, and now you're kind of on like this team that has had some LCS pro experience. You have Gilius, you have Fox coming in from the EULCS. How has it just kind of been being in like one of these more organized team environments, and like how do these guys kind of help you out?
This team, I feel, has helped me like immensely. Like we have 2 seasoned like LCS players and 3 rookies that are really like hungry to learn, so they can just feed us all their knowledge and we like take it in really fast and really well.
I was really impressed with your team fighting over the course of this game, pretty much never out of position, always doing what you need to do, flashing in aggressively when you needed to do that. Do you think that was something that you feel very comfortable in, the team fighting portion of the game, or was it aided a little bit by the fact that you had a huge Maokai helping you out and you had 2 dive people generating a lot of space for you to work in?
I think it's the Maokai and also the fact that my team's like always encouraging me. They're like, go in, go in, go in. And I just go in and we win the fight.
All right, it's pretty fun to play AD carry behind a Maokai like that.
Yeah, and well, the team is saying to go in, but you still had 0 deaths that game, so it's gotta feel pretty good, especially going against a bot lane like Mash and Madlife.
Yeah.
All right, well, definitely congratulations on that, your deathless game, and of course, the win you guys picked up against Goldcoin United. So that series is complete, but we still have one more match headed your way. In just a few minutes, we're gonna catch game number 2 of Tempo Storm versus Team Gates. Don't go anywhere. Definitely going to flash out, but eUnited have Sand United, and they are collapsing down on this. Licorice joined the fray, and he took down Nash. At the same time, Solo's able to get a kill on the Fox, and now it's going to be a double kill for the Maokai, and he picks up a kill on Braum. This time it's just Licorice going down there. In the meantime, they're diving Solo on the opposite side, even though it's their side of the map, as Fox is able to pick up a kill there. Madlife goes down. Solo's going to be able to get a kill on the Fox. He's trying to turn on the Gilius, but the rest of his backline is falling as eUnited charges through. A Varus Knight will pick up a kill onto Gilius. They're turning on the Solo. Their tank is not nearly as strong as our tank. It's definitely picked himself up a killing spree. 307 Ash, 706 Maokai chasing down onto the Rise as Fox picks up that kill, and things are falling.